What's up, guys? This is me, Command7, and we are back for more Five Nights at CaseOh's. We'll be doing nights 2 and 3, because why not? Now that I have a basic understanding of how to play the game now, it shouldn't be too bad. However, it will be quite boring. CaseO raid sounds. Okay, that's the call for night 2. Mic disconnected. Now, on the first night, it was only like 2 characters attacking throughout the whole, 9-minute night. So, yeah. Let's see how night 2 shapes up. Are they gonna move, or is it gonna stand there? Queso ain't moving a single inch. I'm not sure if the first night was the only actually programmed night. But I have heard from the developer that there's gonna be a multiplayer added in soon, so I might try that out. Hell no, where are he? I closed the door. What? I closed the door on him. Alright, I'll just come back to where we were at 1 a.m. again, so you won't miss out on anything. Alright, so I'm back and I apparently glitched the right door. I don't know how that happened. You know what? We're gonna watch for Rolling Rocks on Hazy Maze Cave, 0.5 A presses. Alright, let's pull up the video. Rolling Rocks and 0.5 A presses commentated.
Half an A.
Okay.
Half.
Alright, here we go. Now make a window. Window capture. Watch for rolling rocks. Let's put it here. There we go. Yeah. We're watch for rolling rocks. 0.5.
In this video, I'll be explaining exactly what I do to collect watch for rolling rocks in 0.5 A presses. But first, we need to clear something up. Because every time I post a half A press video, I get the same comments over and over asking what it means, even though I always have a whole paragraph in the description explaining it. Which even starts with, if you're wondering what a half A press is, read this before commenting to ask. But maybe what you guys need isn't a paragraph. Maybe you guys need an example. So, consider Wing Mario over the rainbow. Not even the whole star. Just consider getting to that cannon platform, which is a necessary part of getting the star.
Just move it to like the bottom,
how many A presses does it take to get there?
Over here.
Well, if you say
this
0,
is the brain rot
that's wrong,
finest.
because then Mario can't go far enough. If you say 1, well, it's true that Mario can get there with 1, but we can do a little better. We can do it in half an A press. To do that, we start the level already holding A, and then we use that A press to reach the platform. Now, hold on. I know what you're thinking. An A press is an A press. You can't say it's only a half. Well, TJ, Henry, Yoshi, hear me out. An A press actually has 3 parts to it. When A is pressed, when A is held, and when A is released. And together, this forms one complete A press. Now, usually, it's
there's
the
another one
pressing
coming
that's useful,
in.
Because that's the only
With
part
a
that makes Mario
0.5
However,
gift card
sometimes
acquire,
it's sufficient to
so
just
it will
use the
become
holding part,
0.5.
which allows Mario to do little kicks, to swim in water, to fall slowly while twirling, and to fall slowly with the wing cap. And as for the release, well, there's currently no cases where that's useful or important, so don't worry about that part. Now, if we map out the required A presses for Wing Mario over the rainbow, it would look like this. We merely need to hold A to reach the cannon platform, we need to press A to launch from the first cannon, and we need to press A again to launch from the second cannon. So, how many A presses is that total? Well, it appears to be 3, and if we were doing this star in isolation, then yeah, it would be 3.
Fair.
But in a full game A button challenge run, there are other A presses that occur earlier in the run, such as this A press needed to get into the course. So, if we take that A press into consideration as well, then how many A presses would it take? The naive answer would be 4, 1 to enter the course, and the 3 within the course that we established earlier. However, we can do better. We can actually do it in 3 by simply holding out the first A press to be used for the half A press, because the half A press only required A to be held, not actually pressed. So in this fashion, Wing Mario over the rainbow only adds on an additional 2 A presses to the run, since the first A press just leeches off of a previous A press. So to capture this phenomenon, we call it 2.5 A presses. On a single star basis, you'd round that up to 3, but in a full game run, you'd round it down to 2. So, in conclusion, since that first A press counts in some contexts, but adds no additional A presses in other contexts, we refer to it as a half A press. So, going back to the video, you can see that I start the level with the A button already held, as indicated in the bottom left corner. And so in the full game run, this A press will just leech off of a previous one, and so it won't incur an additional A press. Okay, glad that's explained. Now, what am I doing in the video? Here, I'm using a trick called Scuttlebug Transportation.
Oh yeah!
You see, like most enemies, Scuttlebugs have a home, which is just a point in 3D space, and they'll patrol a certain radius around that point. So, if Mario enters that radius, they'll lunge at him to attack. But, unlike most other enemies, a Scuttlebug's home can change positions, because if a Scuttlebug bumps into Mario, the Scuttlebug's home will update to where the Scuttlebug was when the collision occurred. So, by strategically luring the Scuttlebug to the edge of its radius and bumping into it, we can effectively transport the Scuttlebug and its home. So, that's what I'm doing here. Note that we can't actually transport a Scuttlebug to outside of its native room. They actually get stuck at the door. So, if your dream was to bring all the Scuttlebugs together for one big jamboree, I'm sorry, but it's not gonna happen. Also worth noting is that Scuttlebugs will actually disappear if they walk into a wall while too far below their current home. So I do have to be careful to avoid that. It's pretty weird if you've never seen it before, but I'm pretty sure they did it so that if a Scuttlebug jumps into a hole, it wouldn't just walk around down there. Anyway, I'm transporting the Scuttlebug to the corner right below the Watch for Rolling Rock Star, because next I do a trick called Scuttlebug raising, and here's how it works. On the left, I show a bird's eye view of the scene, and on the right, I show a view from the side. Now, When Mario leaves the Rolling Rocks room, the Scuttlebug deactivates.
Where is he?
That's because the room and everything in it are only active when Mario's in the room or standing in a small region right outside the door, indicated here.
I see him, I see him, I see the cat.
If Mario isn't in the Rolling Rocks room or in the yellow region, then the room will be completely black, and everything in the room will be invisible and won't move. Conveniently, this allows us to raise the Scuttlebug by performing the following steps.
I see,
First,
CaseOh.
Mario enters the Scuttlebug's radius. Although the Scuttlebug is invisible and can't move around, it can still turn towards Mario and activate a lunge. Then, Mario leaves the radius and the Scuttlebug returns to facing its home. Next, Mario enters the yellow region to activate the Scuttlebug. The Scuttlebug will perform the lunge that it started, but cleverly, we have Mario exit the yellow region right when the Scuttlebug is at the peak of its trajectory, thereby deactivating it so it won't fall down. And finally, since the Scuttlebug moved past its home, it turns around to face its home once more. Now, we've gotten all the height we could out of the Scuttlebug's current lunge, but that's no problem, because we can just activate another lunge by repeating this procedure. Activate a lunge while the Scuttlebug is deactivated, reactivate the Scuttlebug just for the upwards portion of its trajectory, and then repeat. As simple as that. So that's what I do here, and I have a second screen to show it from the Scuttlebug's perspective. Fortunately, the Scuttlebug's radius isn't a sphere, but a cylinder that extends up and down infinitely. So really, no matter how high the Scuttlebug gets, we can continue to enter its area to activate its lunges and move it upwards. There's no limit to how high we can raise it. Now, it's worth noting that I only activate the Scuttlebug while I'm not inside its radius, so the Scuttlebug will always lunge towards its home and not towards Mario. This causes the Scuttlebug to effectively travel straight up above its home. But alternatively, I could have activated the Scuttlebug while inside of its radius, and in that case, the Scuttlebug would always lunge towards Mario instead of towards its home. So it would actually make its way towards the door and then travel straight up from there. That method's actually a little faster because we wouldn't have to wait for the Scuttlebug to turn back towards its home before each activation.
It's almost 6 a.m.
However, it wouldn't work for what we're doing because we need the Scuttlebug to be right next to that corner. In fact, the top of that corner has a special property which we call a misalignment. Basically, in the game's code, there's a discrepancy between the way the game handles collision checking with floors versus walls. This results in a 1x1 unit area where Mario can get under the floor without being pushed away by the walls. And if Mario's less than 79 units under the floor, he'll snap right up onto it. So that'll...
Bro, the cat's right there. Oh wait, we gotta reset my game. Alright, I'll have a moment. I rebooted the game. No biggie. And yeah. What does CaseOh's have to say tonight? His words of wisdom. Yo, what? Yo! Get that. I just broke my finger! Please, I just need to pee. You need to pee? Alright, this gremlin. There's like no map. So I don't know like where the areas connect. And the cat's pretty hard to detect. I just don't want to die to friggin' the cat again. And then for like the bonus episode we could like get all the other achievements. Okay. So, yeah, these are just the two characters that we have to worry about throughout the whole game. Hopefully, 2 expands on it a little bit and adds more characters from the CaseOh like cinematic universe. Hey, hey, what? Who's there? Who was there? Was that the cat? Huh? Huh? Alright. I'm gonna go get myself a drink. I won't be gone for long, hopefully. So, yeah. See you guys in a bit. Alright, so I'm back. I just need to make sure everyone is okay. They're both on the left door. Defeated male leaves. Okay. I need to save up on battery. But the problem is, CaseOh and the cat are taking up some of the power. Also, I can't get any more gift cards. Why was there like 2 of them? I can't be for certain of where the cat is. But I feel as though I should not use the cameras at all. Come on, Stram. And let me find this dang cat. Okay, I found him. I found him. Alright, 52%. That's not good. Panic, what are your words of wisdom?
Will be important later for getting up there. Anyway, now it's time to build up some speed, and I mean a lot of speed. So to get that speed,
so we build up speed,
we're going to use
and
a trick
what's
called
next?
hyperspeed walking. And here's
Okay,
how it
hyperspeed
works.
walking.
You probably already know that there are some slopes in the game that are too steep to stand on. Mario just slides off of them. But did you know that you actually can stand on these slopes if they're submerged in shallow water? In fact, the underwater portion of these slopes has a special property. If you try running uphill on them, you'll end up running backwards at an increasing speed with no upper bound. But in most circumstances, this would cause us to end up in the water before building up any real speed. We can get a little more speed by running nearly parallel to the slope but ever so slightly uphill, but eventually the slope runs out, or we move too fast to round a corner. But there are some ways to have Mario walk while staying in place. For example, if there's a wall perpendicular to the slope, then we can use that. That allows Mario to build up quite a bit of speed before he breaks through.
Alright,
However,
so
if the wall
build up
isn't
speed and then we go
perpendicular to the
fast.
slope,
You got it.
then
Okay.
we end up sliding
Maybe if,
down into the water.
our
That's
foes
because walls
build up
are really
speed,
just rectangles that push
maybe,
Mario
fall
out
off for the rest of the night.
perpendicularly. So, if Mario moves into a wall at an angle, the game will calculate his intended next position, then the wall will push that position out, and then Mario ends up having a net movement along the wall, so ultimately he'll end up moving into the water. So, is all hope lost? Well, no, because Tyler Caney figured out that we could actually make use of the gate.
What?
You see, the bottom of the gate is a ceiling, and the game doesn't like putting Mario too close to the area right under a ceiling because it doesn't think he fits. So, if we have Mario move backwards into the ceiling, the game will choose not to move him, so we're free to build up speed in place.
I can't find him.
But not infinite speed, because we'd end up breaking free if our speed moved past the gate. So what do? We turn to redirect our speed out of bounds. Notice that we now have enough speed so that our intended next position is past the wall and out of bounds. And since the game doesn't like placing Mario out of bounds, it doesn't move him, and instead just lets him stay in place, just like the ceiling. But unlike the ceiling, out of bounds goes on forever, so we can essentially build up as much speed as we want without having to worry about breaking free. So now I do just that. Open the gate, use the ceiling of the gate to build up some speed, and then redirect my angle out of bounds to build up the rest. Now, you're probably wondering what I'm gonna need all this speed for. After all, I do build up speed for 12 hours.
Oh yeah,
but
the part where you build up speed for 12 hours.
About parallel universes.
And
if you thought my other tangents were complicated, just you wait. Okay, so Mario's position is a floating point number, but it's converted to a short when the game uses it to test for collision with floor triangles. In other words, Mario's position can basically be any decimal number, but it's converted to an integer between negative 32,768 and positive 32,767 inclusive. So, any fractional portion is truncated, and numbers too big or too small are moved into this range using the modulo operator. Graphically, that means that the position used for floor detection is always inside of this box. So if Mario's in that box, then his actual position and the position used for floor detection are the same, albeit maybe off by a single fraction.
Yeah, I plan on like making some Plants vs. Zombies 2 videos.
Box, then his actual position
like
and the position used for floor detection will separate, since the position used for floor detection will just loop back around to remain in the original box. So now I ask you this. Here's the course. So if Mario is standing way over here where there's no land,
like
but the
position
used for floor detection is on land, can he stand over here? The answer is yes. As far as the game sees
and
it,
I really like
Mario
Plant.
is
It's
in
pretty
fact
good for
above
Neon
land over
Mixtape
here,
Tour
because
and
the
Big Wave
game
Beach.
actually checks for land over here.
So I'll make a video on that sometime
for all
soon.
intents and purposes, there is essentially land over here, a copy of the original map, and this is what we call a parallel universe, or a PU, and this applies to every one of these boxes. So there's actually a grid of nearly infinite PUs. Here is a to-scale diagram of the PU grid. As you can see, the PUs are actually pretty far apart. But I'll be taking some creative liberties and drawing them closer together for the sake of clearer visuals. Now, PUs aren't as glamorous as you might think. The graphics are only found on the original map, so the PUs are completely invisible. Furthermore, PUs have no objects, like elevators or item blocks, no enemies, no items, like coins or stars, and not even any walls. So really, it's pretty barren. Furthermore, the N64 console will actually crash if you go to a PU and let the camera follow you, but luckily, we can avoid that crash by fixing the camera in place on the original map before leaving it, though that does make it even harder to tell what's going on in the PUs. So, as you just saw, you can travel to a PU if you have enough speed, but it's not as simple as you might think. If you have just enough speed to reach the PU one over, it won't actually work. That's because the game actually checks if Mario is above land at each quarter step of his movement. That means the simplest PU movement is moving over 4 PUs at once. That way, each quarter step is above land and therefore valid. For simplicity, we call this quadruple PU distance 1 QPU. Now, up until this point, I've been glossing over a very important detail, which I now need to clear up. What if I told you the distance Mario moves isn't necessarily equal to his speed? For example, look how fast Mario moves at 31 speed on this flat slope, and now compare it to how fast he moves at the same speed on this steeper slope. In both cases, he has about the same speed, but clearly he's moving at different rates. That's because the distance Mario moves is only a portion of his actual speed, and this portion depends on the slope of the ground. The steeper the slope, the smaller this portion is. Note that it only depends on the steepness, not whether Mario's facing uphill, downhill, or sideways on the hill. In these visuals, blue will represent Mario's actual speed, and green will represent the portion of it that he moves, which we call Mario's de facto speed. So in these three pictures, Mario has the same speed, but he has different de facto speeds since he's standing on slopes with different steepnesses. So if we want to move one QPU, it's not sufficient to have QPU speed. We need QPU de facto speed, which often means our actual speed will need to be greater than 1 QPU to compensate. So to reiterate, we need to increase our speed until our de facto speed syncs up with 1 QPU. And the speed needed to do this is called the sinking speed. So in this diagram, the blue arrow represents the sinking speed. When we have that speed, the quarter steps of the de facto speed sync up with the PUs, and we can move. Now, what I'm showing here is just the lowest, or first sinking speed, aka the speed to move exactly 1 QPU. If we increase our speed, eventually our de facto speed would sync up again when it covers a distance of 2 QPU, and so we'd be able to move at that speed, which is 2 times as fast as before. So in general, any multiple of the lowest sinking speed is itself a sinking speed, and will cover multiple QPU at once. So
alright. I think I had enough Five Nights at CaseOh's for today. That was like really long. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, this was unedited, but whatever. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!